Thank you, Charles. Let me perhaps try and respond to Patrick first, and then Simone, and then colleague from Max Planck, and then Inge. Sorry. Okay, good. So to Patrick, you know, it's not quite correct what you said that we ignored the call not to launch the FCPF in Bali. In fact, we did not launch the FCPF in Bali. We announced the FCPF in Bali, and after very strong recommendations heard from quite a few quarters, we did conduct for the FCPF information exchange and consultations with regional indigenous peoples organizations, one in Asia, one in Africa, and one in Latin America. And only after that, and additional consultations with private sector, did we declare the FCPF open for contributions, and then it became operational in June. Now, you go beyond that, of course, and you look forward and you say, well, you know, there are now readiness plan idea notes that have been submitted that do not reflect enough consultation. I think, you know, we have to look at each readiness plan idea note differently, separately, because they reflect different country situations, and you're probably referring to ones that you think do not reflect sufficient discussion. But let me just say that there was actually no formal requirement of a full consultative process for the submission of the readiness plan idea notes. These readiness plan idea notes are idea notes. What there is now is the countries selected are preparing readiness plans, the plans themselves, and the expectation is that the readiness plans that would be submitted would reflect a national dialogue, and more than that, more significantly, the readiness plan will include a consultation and outreach plan where the country, the representative of the country, spells out in detail, you know, the process of consultation and inclusion during preparation for REDD and implementation for REDD. So that I want to clarify what the standard is, and I'm sure that the countries that will do a better job in terms of preparing and submitting an R plan that already reflects inclusion and meaningful involvement of national actors, you know, will be more attractive to the participants committee when the time comes to approve those readiness plans. I also want to say that as part of the budget approval of this year, there will be there's a proposal that is now on the table that is being discussed with my neighbor to the left, to my left, that is the chair of the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, to basically help the observer representing the forest-dependent and indigenous peoples in the FCPF basically you know, do that job effectively, having a meaningful input and output process to the FCPF meetings, and that would be budgeted, that has been budgeted already in the FCPF. So we're in fact proposing to fund a person that would be directly working on these issues that would be relevant for the FCPF, but going beyond the FCPF on REDD and indigenous people. And then in addition to that, there's also an approval for $200,000 per year to build the capacity of indigenous peoples for REDD, and for that we're actually talking to a number of regional IP organizations already that have submitted ideas to us as to how, you know, what they could do with this money. It could be, you know, bringing people together to increase the level of understanding and involvement in national, regional, and global dialogues on REDD. But we've also said that we would be open to things like, you know, information technology support to IP organizations. So we're waiting. We're basically now engaging in discussions on how to engage, how to spend this money. To answer to Simone, I don't know if she's still there. Oh, sorry, Simone, you. In Paraguay, I don't pretend to know that I know exactly what to say that I know exactly what happened. I understand that there was a meeting in the parliament that included a number of stakeholders in Asunción, when sort of the proposal of the government was discussed, but clearly this is not equivalent to a consultation. The RPIN was indeed selected by the FCPF, and then we received also a letter from CAPI that we have responded to, actually, our representative in Asunción, basically saying what I tried to say in response to Patrick, that you know, it is now basically that this consultation needs to take place. You know, if we had front-loaded the process and requested that all the RPINs be fully consultative, I don't know how many we would have received, and yet there is an urgency to go somewhere and do something. So it's certainly not too late, and I think we have a logical and robust process in place to ensure inclusion. Very quickly, on third-party verification, yes, in the second phase, the Carbon Fund operations, there's a proposal to do both ex-ante independent assessments and ex-post independent assessments, meaning the equivalent, if you like, of a validation, though, you know, not necessarily using DOEs and, you know, following the CDM model, but basically taking the guidance that we will receive from the negotiations, right? But it's also important that it be done ex-post, meaning when the emission reductions claim to have been verified, there ought to be a degree of third-party verification. This is not final, it's being discussed at the moment. All the procedures for the Carbon Fund are still being shaped. And then very quickly, to answer the types of activities that are being funded in the readiness mechanism. So far, we are applying REDD as REDD, R-E-D-D. We're aware that there is talk of you know, including conservation, the sustainable management of forests, the enhancement of carbon stocks, but we take our guidance from the parties and we take our guidance from the Participants Committee. And if the Participants Committee of the FCPF say that it is time to look at other activities than REDD, strictly speaking, I guess we will do it. But the current mandate of the FCPF, from the charter and everything, is to look at REDD, including the 2Ds.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks to all of those questions, and we're now ready to go